Minister, the R587, it's a key access route for West Cork with traffic coming up through Crookstown and Coppeen. And there's great concern at the piece down by the Arcahan Bridge, which often floods and results in the closing of the road, a key artery for West Cork. And there needs to be action taken on improving that to prevent flood blocking the road there. But it's not a quick fix. It is a special protected area. There's wildlife to be taken into account as well. And there's also costs with the studies and everything for that. And I'd ask you, Minister, if you can take a look at different options for supporting the Council on that.
Mr. Moran.
Thank you, Deputy. I'm advised that local flooding issues are a matter in the first instance for the local authority to investigate and to address. The local authorities may carry out flood mitigation works using their own resources. The OPW operate a minor flood mitigation works and coastal protection scheme to provide funding to local authorities to undertake minor flood mitigation works are suitable to address localised flooding and coastal protection problems within their administrative areas. The scheme generally applies to relatively straightforward cases where a solution can be relatively identified and achieved in a short time frame and which meets the criteria of the scheme. Flooding caused by ponding or rainwater or undercapacity of surface water drainage system are a responsibility of the local authority. The local authority is in the first responsibility for the funding to carry out the maintenance, upkeep and the improvements of the road network infrastructure. It is open to Cork County Council to bring forward proposals under the Minor Works Flood Scheme. Viable measures and location meet the scheme criteria. No application has been submitted under the Final Minor Works Mitigation Works and Coast Protection Scheme at this time.
Minister, I note how you outline it as ponding and minor works, but to see the flood out there, it's a fairly substantial flood that comes out there regularly, 3-4 times each winter, causing a complete blocking of that key artery for West Cork. The County Council, as I've said to you, are working in a special protected area where there's freshwater pearl mussel, salmon and a various number of other wildlife that need to be taken into account, and to carry out studies on the wildlife and to identify the work that there's substantial costs with that. I know the Cork County Council carried out investigations some 2 years ago, and we're making inquiries with the OPW for the costs on that, because it was identified as a big job. Can those preliminary works be funded? It's more than just the actual work itself, the digging and the removing of gravel and so on. It's all the preparatory work and the cost that goes with that as well, because this is a key artery route for West Cork, the R587, coming all the ways up through to Coppeen and Crookstown, and when it closes, it's a major inconvenience, not just for locals, but for the wider region as well.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
I'm aware of the issue that you're outlining to me, but as I said to you at the outset, there is, through the Minor Works Scheme, that the local authorities can apply for funding to carry out a study. But you said 2 years ago, 2 years on, nothing has happened. Well, I'm afraid that's not down to my department, that's down to the local authority to put in a scheme, and if it meets the criteria, it'll be funded, but it's up to the local authority to do that. There is money. This year we increased the minor work from 2 million to 5 million, so the money is there. It's to find the criteria to sit around that. But you are talking about road infrastructure, and I can understand there's different bodies involved, different departments, but maybe that's a matter that the local authority need to take up and come in with in relation to it, prioritise in relation to minor works.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy.
It's not about blaming your department or blaming the County Council or anybody. They have done studies on it. They have the different material put together. And you're telling me that you have funding and that you have a scheme. So if they send it on in, I take it that you're going to be in a position to fund it, because look, we need to get the relevant work done on it, and it's obviously not any quick fix, and I'm not after a blame game. I'm looking to make sure that all the doors are open for Cork County Council so that they can, as quickly as possible, get the relevant works that are needed in the Arcahan Bridge area. You have to take into account the wildlife, but you also have to take in the complexity of how the flood happens. It comes down the road, it comes out of the river a number of different ways. So there isn't a quick fix, but if you're telling me you have the money, the council have examined on it, we'll have the report into you.
That it has to meet the criteria in relation to the minor works criteria scheme. If it meets that, then funding is there to meet it, but it has to meet that criteria. But, as I said to you, I'm one minister that has gone around the country and seen flooding firsthand in every part of the country, including your own. And I'm very much to the forefront of saying if a scheme meets criteria, we'll fund it, but it has to meet that criteria. Thank you.
Minister, and now move